Alright, now everyone's attention please. This is going to be a mercifully short one, I promise.
Will it though?
I don't know. You're all very welcome to the annual general meeting of the 170th session of the Literary and Scientific Society at Queen's University of Belfast. So, we have a lot to go through today, so it's I'm just going to get straight into the running order. No time for any frivolities tonight. So, firstly, we shall be voting to approve the agenda for the evening, as like a procedural thing we have to do. So the agenda is as follows. We're getting up on screen, or no?
No, because that's a PowerPoint.
That's a PowerPoint.
Yeah. Oh, it's snazzy.
Alright, so it's please just be firstly, we have the vote to approve the agenda as it says in the running order. Following that, we shall be doing any amendments. That's self-explanatory. Any amendments we need to do to the Constitution. After that will be council reports, a brief wee section where everyone in council explains what's happened this year. After that, the vote to approve the returning officer, which, spoiler alert, this evening we will be voting to approve Mr. Ben Murphy, President Emeritus, as to approve as the returning officer. After that will be the elections. Elections firstly for the 3 executive positions, the President, Secretary and Treasurer. That will be followed up by any nominations for honorary life memberships. That will be followed up by the elections for the internal convener, external convener and outreach officer positions. After that will be followed by the ratification for the tech officer, which as you know is a position appointed by the current tech officer that has to be approved and ratified by the members present here. Then we'll finish off the evening for the elections for training officer and events officer. And then we'll wrap up and I'm sure go get a nice drink somewhere. So, if you would like to, if you're approved of voting for that running order, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any against, say nay. So against. Any abstentions? No. Alright. So, it's, we now move on to the, he's here!
Hey.
He's everywhere! Wow.
Shut up, Jenna.
Anyway, getting off track. We move now on to the fun bit, which is the amendments. So, Matthew Bradley, if we shall proceed in displaying those amendments, please.
Yes, we shall. So, if you want to get the Constitution up on your phones, I'm probably going to walk around and stuff like that and point at things. So, if you want to get the Constitution up on your phones, go to literific.org and then I think /Constitution. So, here we go. I'm going. Oh, there we are. So, actually I can't do that because I need to scroll, but generally what happens is the people who write the bill will name it after themselves. I decided to break that convention and call it the Whittaker Bill, and the reason for which will be shown now. That was not as funny as I thought it would be. And so these are amendments to, I wrote this with Miss Chloe Ferguson, she dealt with the outreach amendments, and I put this in the council group chat. It was a Google Doc where people could put in suggestions for the various bills that are being amended. So, what we want to do is we want to make the outreach officer more focused on schools, and we are changing the social officer to the events officer. Now the reasons for this, just so you know, social, the word social has a kind of implication to it that it is just pints, whereas if the society wanted to do something bigger, so let's say the Storm Mixer, Conversazione, any other kind of event, it would be good to have a role that's the person who not necessarily organises the whole thing, but we just go, it's you deal with phone calls, emails, that kind of stuff. But that's meant, the amendments to that have meant there's a knock-on effect on the position of secretary, which needed various changes, and one of them is rather obvious. So, you'll notice there's like, what I've described as a rogue R there. Why was that allowed to be in the Constitution? But, I've done a slightly different thing to the way we do normally. I've put the current constitution and the proposed amendments side by side. So the previous one, they're all, so it's the secretary, and then there's various little bullet points. So the first one is, the secretary is the most senior administrative officer of the society, and is as such responsible for the daily function of the society, so as to ensure that meetings may take place and the communications directly to the society are responded to. The new one, the secretary is the most senior administrative officer of the society and is as such responsible for its daily functions so as to ensure that meetings may take place. This includes the maintenance of the society's membership lists as well as the booking of rooms for weekly debates. Is that okay? Yeah. Anyone got anything to that? Okay. Number 2, the secretary shall be the chair of meetings of the society in the absence of the president or special chairperson. New number 2, the secretary shall be the chair of meetings of the society in the absence of a president or special chairperson. That's exactly the same. Anyone?
Point of information.
Yes.
Would an Oxford comma be required there, in your opinion?
In the absence, I'm a lover of an Oxford comma, but there I don't think it's necessary because it keeps it in line with the rest of the way the Constitution is written, which is with very little regard for English grammar. So, number 3, the secretary shall be responsible for the minutes of the meetings of both public meetings and private meetings of the council. The secretary shall be responsible for the minutes of the meetings of the society, both public meetings and private meetings of the council. The same, anyone? Yes?
There's a rogue sentence in there.
Oh! Hang on. Minutes of the meetings of society, both public meetings and private meetings of the council. No. Oh, who attends meetings? There is one there.
Where?
That's a rogue sentence. That will be removed with due haste. Could somebody make a note to remove that? I love the way I have this on like a shared drive. I spent hours doing this. Everyone saw this. It was on Facebook for a week. It wasn't on Facebook for a good amount of time. And yet we missed out that. So, with removing that sentence, is everyone okay? Brilliant. The secretary shall keep records of the list of members of the society and for the lists of members who attend each meeting of the society. That's the old one. New one, the secretary shall be responsible for the society's primary communications via email, social media and other necessary channels. That's a bit different, isn't it? So, the reason for that one, records of the list of members, that has been dealt with in I, and for the list of members who attend each meeting of the society. What secretary is going to record every single member that turns up to a debate? I just think that's, 1, a waste of time, and 2, borderline creepy. So, is everyone okay with that, where it says, instead, that's been removed and replaced with the secretary shall be responsible for the society's primary communications via email, social media, and other necessary channels. That means that social media is moved from outreach, which I think was initially a more sort of getting us out of the community one, but I'll explain the change to outreach when we get to it. And it means that social media, I don't think when this was written, people fully understood the extent to which we'd be using social media, and I think for the secretary to have control of that means that they can more accurately be a voice to the society, because it's not just emails now. Is anyone against that? So, here's the formal closure. We'll go through this one. Or do you want me to do it?
You can do it. I'll just interject if you get it wrong.
Okay, I probably will. Okay. Outreach officer, the original 1. The outreach officer shall have general responsibility for the promotion of the society both within and without the university, and shall have responsibility for the society's promotion, including but not limited to poster advertising, social media and press releases. Proposed amendment, it's very different. The outreach officer shall coordinate the society's annual schools debating competition. Rather different there. That's been moved from there to there. Because over the past few years, we've realised that the schools competition is something a lot more than I think it was possibly thought to be. This year's schools comp was massive, and I think making that the primary thing for the outreach officer to be focused on schools and other organisations is a really good idea. Plus the fact, that's kind of secretary stuff. Social media, you know, secretary, if they're meant to be, if they're the ones conversing with the members, that should include potential members, and I think it would be best to kind of shift that. So is anyone, any thoughts on that? So where we are. Number 2, this is a new one, completely new. In fact, this number 2, the outreach officer shall also coordinate the schools debating competition. That's that, but that's just nice, more nicely worded, because that's promotion, yeeted away. So then we've got number 2, the outreach officer shall hold responsibility for facilitating and organising the delivery of workshops in secondary schools, as well as any other education-driven events. This is something we've done a lot this year. It's kind of happened a bit in the past, but this year there's been more of a drive for it. And I think making that an actual part of the role is really important because it is us outreaching into the community. And I think it's a lot more of a definite point than other ones, because the thing with the outreach role, I think it always was, its scope was massive, but it was equally vague. Whereas this, I think, it clears it up a lot better. So any thoughts? So, yeah, just going to close that one. Number 3, the outreach, that should say officer. Isn't it funny, the things that slip by? Officer shall liaise with external organisations and develop society's list of contacts throughout the year. Again, that's a more definite example of outreaching and bringing back. I don't know why I used mine there, but there we go. So yeah, I think that's fairly straightforward. That fine? Because welcome to hell. So here we go. Right. Now, I'm going to briefly outline the social officer and why we think it's a good idea to change it to events officer. Now, the social officer was introduced by President Emeritus Murphy's Council. It was a really good idea because when you look at this society, you go, they love the crack. And I think an officer it replaced the rep's position. Bryson was the first year rep.
I was.
Yeah. It replaced the rep. Atom training replaced the rep's position, and it was a really great idea to get people in. However, with the society going forward, it had the right trajectory, but I think there could be more expected of it, and I think, it is a council position. It could easily just become the person that points at the pub. So let's just read through it. The social officer shall have responsibility for organising social events throughout the academic calendar and, in doing so, raise funds for charitable causes. Number 1. The events officer shall have responsibility for facilitating the society's events and social functions throughout the academic calendar, including the organisation of social activities as hosted as part of an IB or Open. Now, why is this different? So, organising, facilitating. Very different things. Once you replace social events with events, let's say conversations, that wouldn't necessarily have to be the events officer's thing. It would be by default if no one else stepped up, but we didn't want it to be a position where members of council couldn't organise their own events. That's why we're using the word facilitating, so they're essentially they're the one with the hard hat on, you do this. And the reason why it says organisation of social events as hosted as part of an IB or Open, that's in number 3. That's pretty much all of that wording has been replaced with that sentence. Or that sentence, so that's fine. And then are we all fine with that bit? I want to rush through it. This is surprisingly going quite well, but it's all going to go to hell at the end. I know of it. But, okay, number 2. The social officer shall undertake to host at least 2 social events per semester. Number 2 here, the events officer shall undertake to host at least 2 special events per semester. Now, this is a bit different. Doesn't specify they have to be social. It would be good, but the reason why that's necessary, you'd presume it'd be necessary in there, but the reason why that's necessary is because of the use of the word facilitating. Because what could happen there is they could just essentially stand at the side of events and nod and just go, yeah, I'm helping out with this. Whereas if they actually have to organise stuff, that means they're actively doing things. So it's just a thing that was there before, but it now takes on new meaning. So anyone? No? Excellent. Number 3, insofar as social events are an integral part of intervarsity competitions, the social officer shall assist the external convener in the organising of any social events hosted as part of an IB or Open. That's been moved to there. The new number 3, the events officer shall hold responsibility for the society's raising of funds for charitable causes. Move charity to events officer. What are thoughts? It does make sense. Trust me. We've thought about this for like a year. It makes sense.
I've lived it for a year.
Yeah. Nothing? Are we all okay to pass that? So, Hugh, you're going to do a wee vote.
I do.
That's hot.
Alright, so, going to another vote here. All those in favour of approving the amendments to the Constitution, say aye.
Aye.
Any of those against, say nay. Any abstaining?
I think Mr. Secretary would like the vote be held again to get a more accurate.
I actually think so. I couldn't count. With how many people in the room, there's one abstaining.
I think we can say it passed.
Just because I have to minute this, but
Wait a minute, amendment passed.
Yes, we now move on to it's up to you to propose your.
Don't we do?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, do your thing.
To propose your.
Numerous amendments.
There.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in for a treat tonight. Right. So first up, I decided to include three different proposals. Perhaps we could. I would probably suggest that we take them separately, probably for the best concern that they are deal with different issues. So, first of all, the cloud proposal. Mostly because it gives you a choice between either the alternative vote or first past the post.
Yeah.
So, and that's basically it summed up. So the reason why I've brought this amendment forward is because according to the Constitution of the Students' Union, which all societies of the Union, including this one, have to abide by, theoretically, it only allows for societies to have one of two voting systems, namely first past the post relative majority system or single transferable vote. And of course, if single transferable vote is only used for one position, it's the exact same as the alternative vote. So, I'll leave you with those three options for this proposal. And does anyone have any questions, or shall we have a debate? Right, Mr. President.
We'll move to a vote on this amendment, that being to include a explanation of a single transferable vote system as per in accordance with the SB rules in our constitution itself. So, all those who would vote in favour say aye.
Aye.
Wait, sorry, what's the proposal?
It's the amendment, like to
The amendment is to insert the explanation of a single transferable vote.
make sure your hands are up high. I'm sure.
Alright, and all those who would vote against say nay.
Nay.
Right, any of those voting abstaining?
You love democracy.
Okay. So, the amendment, read back the vote please.
The vote reads 19 ayes, 2 nays, and 4 abstentions.
Right, so the vote to insert an explanation of a single transferable vote system into the existing amendment has been proposed, has passed. So imagine that there's a long explanation in there as part of the...
Point of information.
Yes.
What does that explanation look like?
It'll be as copy pasted from the SU Constitution rules.
It's like nearly as long as the letter of the Constitution.
How to do it with my mouth?
It's a factual matter, so you couldn't insert it in a way that wasn't correct.
It's to be insert an explanation of the single transferable vote in whatever way is deemed to be most reasonable by the stats.
Putting in a hyperlink.
Yes.
Which
It's a delegate.
it's
So we will exercise.
it's not a relevant matter specifically. So we'll now move to a vote on this, and I'll provide a bit of clarification on our current system because I feel there's a fair few in the room who will be familiar with that, which is where it's in the current system we just take the votes are cast. It's a vote cast for a single candidate, and then it's counted up the votes. And if no candidate has received more than 50% of the vote, then if it's an A election with more than 2 candidates, then the candidate with the lowest number of votes is eliminated. And then after that, a second count of votes is had, and that will repeat until it produces a candidate who receives more than 50% of the votes. So, And it's we move firstly to a vote on option A, which is the change to the single transferable vote system, subject to the amendment that will include an explanation of said system. So, all those in favour of changing the current system to option A, say aye.
Aye.
What was the question?
I know the questions.
Okay. All those in the room against, say nay.
Nay.
Fishing can't buy twice. And every name like it.
And all those abstaining.
We're not saying that anymore.
There you go.
Alright, Mr. Bradley, please read me back that vote.
The vote on option A reads 6 ayes, 12 nays and 9 abstentions.
Okay, so the vote has failed, the motion did not pass. And that moves on to a vote on option B. This is again to change our current system, that being the elimination of candidates in a way that we produce a candidate who has won 50% of the vote, which is to change that to a first past the post system, which will be that of any of the amount of candidates standing, be that 2, 3 or more, that which produces a relative majority is that which gets the position. So, all those in favour of changing to a first past the post system, say aye.
Aye. I understand that.
All those against, say nay.
Nay.
Hands up high, I'm 5'6".
Okay. Any abstentions? Mr. Bradley, read us back that vote.
On option B, there were 3 ayes, 28 nays and 1 abstention.
Okay, so the motion has failed and the current system shall stay as it is. Right, so it's we have some more amendments, proposed amendments to get through. I'm going to limit time on these in the interest of
Thank you, Mr. President. This one I'll keep very brief. Whenever I started through the letter of the Constitution, I realised that, as far as I can tell, there's no mention of reopen nominations. As everyone knows, reopen nominations is the candidate in all of our elections tonight. So I decided to myself, you know what? We fostered wrong. It's like something that we finally adopted into the Weasley family. And so, with that, Mr. President, I urge everyone to vote for the Weasley proposal.
Okay. Now open up to the floor for any thoughts on this to Mr. Hickman. Moving very swiftly onwards to vote on the proposal that its reopen nominations shall be automatically included as a candidate. All those who would vote in favour say aye.
Aye.
Any voting against say nay. Any abstentions? Right, Mr. Bradley, will you read me back the vote on that?
For the wrong amendment, 32 ayes, 0 nays, 1 wee abstention.
Alright, so the motion has passed. Now, moving swiftly onwards to... Yes, right, it's 1:40. Okay, again, welcome Mr. McCallion to present this proposal.
I can never really escape controversy, can I? Well, thank you, Mr. President. Well, for this one, again, similar to the first one, yay. In 2015, the Students' Union wrote that postal voting received via email violated the Students' Union Constitution's rule that all voting for society elections be carried out by secret ballot. This amendment seeks to rectify it using either two ways. By option A, taking just the cat to the vet, and getting better by proposing that by slightly modifying who it is sent to, instead of sending it to the president, who might have conflict of interest, no offence, and instead sending it to the SU Vice President for Student Activities, who would be a more neutral figure. And option B would be to just put Jess in, get rid of it.
He advocated killing a cat.
Made Matt Bradley happy.
I would be happy to get into a debate over the obliteration of the lines from this earth at a later date. But with that, I leave it, with your permission, Mr. President, I leave it to the floor
So it's just something to be around.
You said massive minority. Ask people to be briefly on this now as we'll try and wrap these up. Mr. Manning.
Right, as brief as I can. There's three options here, and I just want to point out none of them is perfect. So the current system, yes, has all these flaws we've heard a lot about the lack of privacy. The system bringing the SU has the flaws that you're relying on somebody who you don't necessarily have accountability or control over. But I think we haven't talked about the flaws if you get rid of it completely, which is that a lot of people just can't make the AGM, especially if it's going to be on a Tuesday. Most of our things are on Thursdays. If you have work booked off every Thursday because you like the Literific, but you have to work every Tuesday. Which I think, to be completely honest, I think that's a much bigger flaw than the fact that you're going to be relying on the Students' Union. So I just want to say, yeah, I don't think any of the options here are perfect, but I do think if you're talking about the dangers of these really close elections, just think about what happens if you do have a really close election and there is a bunch of people who come every week, week in, week out to the Literific, but because they're working on a particular night aren't able to come make it, and they feel that their voice has been completely shut out and excluded. So I think the bring the SU in is probably the least worst option, but I don't know, make your judgment on it, but just be aware that there are flaws, I think, with all three options here.
Okay, yes.
Just in terms of getting the student union involved, we did actually ask for the student union to provide a returning officer tonight, and they weren't able to, so I think that we may overestimate their capacity. Especially if we were essentially adding work to someone else's job unilaterally, you know, if the option is followed, which I don't think is necessarily right.
Okay. I'm going to have to wrap this up, so it's close this out briefly. Last point, Mr. McStarn.
We want that they implement postal voting, but not just be logical, make it that there's a deadline of who you're going to vote for, preferably like a day or two before the actual AGM occurs, and that's done in secret anyway, so it's sent to some adjudicating officer. I don't off the top of my head know who, so it isn't going to interfere with the vote in any way.
Right. Is this brief?
This is brief, and it's just a clarification because that was never actually scrolled down to show all the options. So I don't know if it's the case. Does option B, like remove them, does it also include, oh, it doesn't.
It's valid.
Yeah, no, that should also include remove all mentions of postal votes in the Constitution, because it's referenced a lot of times, like in the tiebreaker thing, there's a whole section like how to do a postal vote, that sort of thing, that all needs removed, and we should remember to do that in the second option.
I am willing to accept that as friendly amendments. It's really important.
Can I ask a point of clarification?
If it's a short one.
Yeah, it is. Does the current system that we have allow for actual physical paper votes, or does it have to be online on the current system if you go up?
I mean, who would they post them to, you know?
No, but as in, like, could you have, no, but as in you could hand over,
Or no, it does not, it's emails.
You have to confirm private message to the president.
Yeah. And it's, even then, if you were to deliver your votes by actual post, it would have to come with some sort of proof of Anyway, right, we shall then move on to a vote. Anyway, so it's this is on. Firstly, we shall vote on option A. Option A being the option that has involvement in the student union and one that maintains a postal voting system. And that is to amend the current system, which is to send postal votes being to the president. So, Any of those in favour of option A, raise your... Yes.
They're not going right to me.
Oh, of course. Sorry. Apologies.
Right.
Yep. Take those in front of you.
Right. Mr. President.
Oh, right. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. So then we move to a vote. Firstly on... I'll just say yeet after that. Right. Move firstly to a vote on option A, then that being one that maintains a postal vote system, the involvement of the SU, etc. Any of those in favour of that option, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, raise your hand, say nay.
Nay. You stand by your belief, call me.
Okay. And any of those voting abstaining?
No.
Right, Mr. Bradley, will you read me back that vote?
The vote reads on option A, 1 aye, 24 nays and 3 abstentions.
Okay. The motion then has failed. We move quickly on then to a vote on option B. This being to remove the paragraph on postal voting with the friendly amendment that was put forward to any other mentions of postal votes elsewhere in the Constitution. All those in favour of this option, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay. 17. All those voting against, raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
And any of those voting abstaining? Okay. Mr. Bradley, will you read me back that vote?
The vote on option B reads 17 ayes, 3 nays and 9 abstentions.
Right, so the motion has passed and the paragraph on postal votes shall be removed and any other mentions of postal votes in the Constitution henceforth. Alright, so that wraps up the amendments. What?
There's another hand to renumber the Constitution appropriately with the amendments we've passed this evening.
Apologies.
I believe. That's correct.
Yeah. Briefly speak to it.
Yep.
That's what it says in the tin. Just make sure that we don't accidentally have 2 paragraph 9s. So with that, move.
Happy days.
Alright, so it's fairly standard unless anyone really no. Yes, so just get on with that and so move on to a vote, this being the enabling motion which will just, that we shall renumber the Constitution accordingly and provide for the amendments that were previously passed. So all those in favour, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Please all raise your hand, it's anonymous and fast, it's anonymous and fast. All those against, raise your hand and say nay. One.
I'm here right now.
And all those abstaining.
Now it's like apart from them.
Okay. Mr. Bradley, will you read us back that vote?
There were 24 ayes, 1 nay and 1 abstention.
Hooray! Alright, so that wraps up the amendment section of the annual general meeting. Thank you all for your input and to Mr. McCallion for pointing out the various ways. Alright, the next segment is the council reports, which is everyone standing on council will give a brief speech outlining what they have done over the course of this year and just giving a summary of what has been accomplished. And who's first on that running order? Why, it's me! Hello everyone, if you haven't met me before, my name is Hugh Dobbin. and currently I am the president of the Literary and Scientific Society at Queen's University, Belfast. And it's, I find myself in a bit of a position in that where, in terms of talking about what we've done this year, it's that a lot of what I have done has been what I've done working with the rest of the council. And anything that I can say I've accomplished should in fact be attributed to any one of these 7 fine people sitting behind me. But I'll just give an overview of like the things that have changed this year, how like good things have been. So it's we've had a lot of engagement from many different people this year, and it's for anyone who's here in first term. You'll know that we kind of shattered the records that previously existed for attendance for debates to the degree that, like, if that's going to reasonably continue, the Senate room is no longer a viable option. Anyone who remembers our "This House believes Christianity is a valuable part of our culture" debate, there was around, I believe, was it 109 or 110 people in it?
Something like there's too many.
There was over 100 people trying to fit in this room. So multiply the people currently in here by almost 3. Or maybe 4 actually. I can't remember. That's the many you'll have. And as I said, other people go more into this in detail. We have been working a lot with other organisations and trying to branch out in what we do as well. I'll give an example of that in whenever we spoke to. It was our event from a few weeks ago, which some of you may remember if you were there, was when we had and I always called this like the strangest collaboration we've ever managed to do was when we were approached by Northern Ireland Opera, which of all organisations that I was respectfully contacted by, they were incredibly low on the list. But it's a matter of recognition, because whenever we were contacted by them, what they said is that we know that on campus we are like a society they are looking to work with and who is respected. And so that sort of thing is what we've been able to do a lot, is to improve our reputation on Queens. And while there sometimes a society, maybe one existed that could have been more relevant to that sort of event, but over the past few years we've been able to get ourselves to a position that whenever something like that needs to be organised, we're recognised as a naming sort of status that can be worked with. And we have everything that we've done in previous years. It's just what I feel like is that this year we've been able to ramp up to 11, as I would say. It's and as I said, it's not only in the Thursday meetings, how many people show up to the debates themselves. It's been in the engagement of societies that we cooperate with. In the past, when we tried to reach out to other societies to do debates with, and this is again through no fault of our own. It would very often just be like them paying lip service by having their name on the event, and then very often, as you would know, Mr. Murphy, are on the day like, oh yeah, the speakers we had there, they dematerialised. So, and that wasn't the case this year, and we were like able to work with other people a lot better. And this is it. It's just everything we've been to has been like higher events. Our social events at, for example, Halloween, whenever we did our event for RAG a few weeks ago, which is absolutely what I you to talk about because I can take no credit for it. And people we've had at the pub, people we've had at our other events that we've been going on, it's all been on the up and up. And I, as I said, don't want to take too much credit for it, but that I'm incredibly happy to report that in everything we've done this year, everything has been on an upward trend. And as I'm now doing my role as president, I instead, rather than giving credit to myself, would rather give credit to everyone who's sitting here in the room, as these are all the brightest collection of young minds I've ever seen. Without you as a society, we're not having one. So, very well done to all of you, and anything I've done in my university career to be able to be president this year is the most fun, as well as being the greatest honour I've ever had. So, thank you very much, and we shall... Therefore, move on with the reports with our Secretary, Mr. Matthew Bradley.
Now, I'm quite a stickler for reports, and because Secretary was quite a lot of admin, strap in. So, possibly the most visible thing I've done is I've recently performed the minutes of 21 ordinary meetings. and I've written 24 council meeting minutes. And I've also created 4 our special meeting at QCon we had this summer. I wrote the minutes for that and performed them in a minutes of bedtime video, which was uploaded on Literific. I performed the minutes, I don't want to go on about this, but I performed the minutes in a way I think it's fair to say is a bit different to the way it's done before. Thank you very much. It's been, just so you know where I've got it from, it's like the likes of Greg Davies, Nick Howard, and Bill Burnham, so if you like what I've done, look them up. Lighting music and props, which hasn't really been done before, I believe. So yeah, I've also redone, they are written down as well, so I've redone the physical format of minutes to make certain things easier to read. So the name of the debate will be in big capitals, and I've created a template for future secretaries to use. I've maintained and updated the catalogue of debates I made while in Tech Officer. This means our minutes and recordings are in the same place for the first time, because before you had to either look them up on archive.org, which nobody had used, or go to iTunes. Now you go off the website, all in the same place. And I've been uploading my minutes to it throughout the year so that I don't need to chase it at the end of the year, which is generally what tends to happen. I've written agendas for our council meetings as well, done that every week, and I've changed the format of them to make them bullet point based to make it easier for the council to do their work. I've booked the rooms for all our debates, trying to get the standard room where possible, but over the summer I tried to get the Canada room for all our debates because I had a bigger venue. I failed. I also made an access database with a front-facing user interface for precious there, so in the past we've used a spreadsheet. I was told afterwards that apparently that wasn't GDPR compliant, the new one was not only nice to look at, it also was legal. The data from this was then moved to a spreadsheet of members' names, which I've updated throughout the year. So like here it is, if someone's becoming a member, I've added them to that spreadsheet, and we've got 135 members. So in late October, I brought back the weekly emails, not only with increased regularity, where they happen 1 a week, but also with a new design that made them not only more aesthetically pleasing, but also more readable. I tweeted Paul Chuckle. I designed for these 38 cover images for event pages, bar drunk lectures, as well as videos for the Christmas debates, and this house via Zuckerberg. I also created a copy video for the Facebook page and a Christmas version of it. I designed and printed out new term cards and membership cards, and designed the posters that we use to publicise Society in our first semester. I also created Microsoft Publisher templates for these, so if you have to take over next year, we'll be able to just continue with them. And also designed and printed this year's physical conversazione text, which you should go and buy in the PFC foyer when we say it's available, because we need money for it, it's not free. I've said about uploading them, there we go. I've utilised Google Forms to assist in the organisation of events, such as the Storm Mixer, the Christmas dinner and the conversazione. This is meant that people type the thing in, it happens. How to write amendments. And arguably the most fun things on the list, I've kept up to last. I've made Literific the musical, a Christmas debate, supplied projections, and a rather special song for the anniversary gala, and I also recorded a promotional video with Hugh Dolan, which I then edited. That's all I can remember. It's been an honour to be secretary. I hope you've enjoyed it. Right?
And up next we have our treasurer, Mr. Shay Glasgow.
Sorry, I was writing a funny inside joke for myself in the minutes.
Good man.
Obviously, everything that I can say will sound decidedly unsexy because it's all just to do with finances. I will say that my only great crime and my only outstanding obligation is to pay Cormac £24. He's overtravelled to the NAV, and that price has been owed for a very long time. But I never paid. And all did you get me your receipt?
Yeah,
He claims he okay, yeah. So all good and Cormac, that's my only outstanding obligations. You'll be paid before I leave office, don't worry. And in terms of what I've actually done pertaining to my role rather than sort of generally, I have secured, I think, more funding than anyone previously had from both the Students' Union and the Queen's Annual Fund. We got £600 from the Annual Fund, £800 from the Students' Union, and then £300 coaching grant for an IB as well. I also made a deliberate decision to up the membership price so that we could actually raise some significant amount of money, because previously, depending on what the finances of the previous year in our government society did not have terribly much money. It does now. Everyone who's been to IVs this year will know that they didn't have to pay a single penny apart from food. I'm happy enough to say that that's because of me. Because I get all the money. So yeah, we're also donating a relatively few hundred pound charity soon as well. So I didn't actually raise that money, I'm the guardian of that money. So and yeah, I think that's all I have to say. The finances are all good and proper. You can find any business in them at all. So that's that's all I have to say.
Up next, once he finishes his M&Ms, the internal convener, Mr. Matthew Bryson.
So I got this notebook from Satan, also known as the Law Society. So, right, internal convener. So far, we've had 21 debates this year, still counting, literally going to have another one in 2 days. All having 6 speakers or more, which actually, I don't know if any of you have been around long enough to actually know that's kind of an achievement, because in every year, at least that I've been here, there's at least been one debate with only 4 speakers, so actually getting 3 usually every week is actually a really good thing, and I think that shows the enthusiasm of the society and the fact that there are a few more speakers willing to speak on a weekly basis. Wonderfully, in my opinion, no debates actually went badly. I mean, that's subjective, but I'm biased, so, and plus I'm up here, so the rest of you can shut up. My personal favourite was the Gallon, where I obviously used a completely culturally appropriate French accent. But on a professional level, I was unbelievably impressed by the Gallon debate this year, which was one of the highest standards I've seen, not just a first year debate, but a debate in general. I'm really happy that a lot of people that were speaking there have gone to speak again and become an integral part of the society. For what I've done this year, I'll give like a thing I'm proud of and a thing I'm not so proud of. One thing I think I did well was actually meeting with the main speakers before their debates. This is actually not constitutional. It's actually not being asked of me. It's literally something I decided, hey, if I have the free time, let's do it. So they sort of waned a bit towards this semester because I've been working a bit more. But in first semester this happened quite a lot when we did have a far larger number of main speakers. And honestly, I think it actually did help. Me and Mr. Bradley often met for either an hour, sometimes up to 3 hours with each group, just giving tips, making sure everything's okay, they're feeling all right with it, and challenging their arguments a little bit to deepen the actual debate. And from what I heard, it actually made things a bit easier for new speakers, which I think is a really great thing. The bad thing, I think, has been guest speakers. This isn't a requirement, but it is a nice thing. I think often I perhaps took time for granted in this situation. So that's something that would have been improvable in not just this year, but really the 2 years in total. Finally, this is a council report, so to some extent we're meant to comment on council as a whole. So I think this has been the most together council I've actually been on. They've all been civil, they've all been willing to work, not just in their own positions. I wrote this knowing you were in the room, as you will. Here reside. But not just willing to work in their own positions, but honestly, the best thing about this council is every single one of them has been willing to work as a team for other people consistently, time and time again. And just to highlight 2 people I think who deserve to be highlighted. Firstly, Mr. Glasgow. He did an absolutely amazing job this year and not only helped reorganise finances from last year, follow up on a few things, but he kept our finances in order this year, which I think is an incredibly important job, which he did fantastically. And finally, Ms. Ferguson, who the outreach officer officially has to do one major event. Ms. Ferguson ran for. She did the schools competition, she did the world schools, the conversations, and basically the drug lectures. She's been brilliant on council, and I think she's been a fantastically friendly face to all members, where every single one of you can come talk to her, and I think she's been absolutely fantastic in making sure council works really well. So to say Ms. Ferguson did her job well would be a massive understatement. So to conclude, I'm actually really going to miss being internal. I've really enjoyed it. This campus has been an absolute pleasure to work with. And that's how I've done. Thank you.
It's, next up would be the report by our external convener, Ms. Tara Grace Conley, who unfortunately for personal reasons could not make it this evening. It's, to be fair, I'll give a brief approximation of what we'd like to achieve in the external department this year, because it's well deserved. It's many things done in the external department this year. It's just noting that we went to every major Irish IB this year, and thanks to the funding that was secured by Sheikh, it was all fully financed, as in previous years where they were like either only partially subsidized by the society. And it's we went to Stormont last term. It was Miss Conley who procured the sponsorship from an NLA for that, and through contacts with the BBC, for example, just so like example of another thing she did for us, we are now on their list of contactable organisations, and they're able to do outreach, particularly for like debating or educational matters. So it's, she would also go into more detail on that, and we'll more time on, but just that there's been a lot of good work this year, so thanks to her in her absence. It's moving on. Speaking next for her report is the outreach officer, Miss Chloe Ferguson.
Right, I'll keep this down because I know you don't want to listen to it. Thanks, Bryce and House. Trying to make me cry. So as I mentioned earlier, outreach is divided into 3 different sections, and while that will change in the next year, this is what I was about this year. So talking about promotion and social media posters didn't really happen this semester. Various reasons, lots of work, very busy, all of us doing lots of other events for the society and members that we currently have, and that is something that I feel like I could have improved on, especially with the promotion side this year. We have been more active on Twitter than ever. We've been active on Facebook. We started on Instagram, and if you ever the secretary next year, I sure love doing all that stuff. So on the promotion side, yeah, I think we probably improve as a whole, but not just the outreach officer or I guess will be secretary, but as a council, and I think we can improve on doing our outreach into the university. But I am very proud to say that we are more well known into the university now than ever, and that I've shown doing other stuff, and that kind of moves on to the third section, or the second section of outreach, which is charity. And so from that, we've done the Halloween pub crawl, which I did not organise myself, but we did get receipts from my charity. And our big thing on the charity side this year was rad drunk lectures. So that was honestly one of the highlights of my year, highlights of my university career, I guess you said. I don't know. So basically this meant I had like a room child idea like in July, August. I was like, there's this thing called presentation parties over in America that they do, and basically people get together, get drunk, talk about absolute nonsense, and that's what I really envisioned for the Literific. We do that every single Thursday. I thought, why don't we bring it to a wider platform? So when we were talking about charities we were doing this year, it made more sense for us to do RIDE, not just because it's kind of being back to the university that we're all a part of, but because donating the money like procedurally is a lot easier because they're already involved in the university. I wouldn't be able to tell you honestly the 4 charities that we are donating to, but they're all great. I'm even talking this year. So we did that with RIDE, which is a really interesting connection to have now, and you can stay up there and send it to us now, and I agree. Honestly, we posted the main event for RAD Day. They didn't do that, we did. And I have to thank all of you so much, because that event wouldn't have worked without all of you coming together, either just coming and spectating or coming and speaking. And I think that's a really important part of the society, is that we don't just come for the drinks themselves, but we come for the community, we come for the people around us. Now moving on to schools. So I'm really happy to say we've done 10 workshops in schools across Northern Ireland this year. We are invited to come down to Donegal and do one in Westport, which I think is really interesting as well. So that will be happening in March, April time, and whoever gets elected to outreach, I'm sure I'll bring with me. So I've been doing individualized structures for each of those workshops to cater to those skills. For example, skill in binders and Kanbanas, and we wanted something more around public speaking in general, and because their students are sitting their GCSE exams. So we can really collaborate with schools, and it gives us a better name in the community because we're giving back. But it's also about creating members that will come to us eventually. It's about implementing that seed in their head and going, oh, Literific, we should go there. Because, you know, I'm not great craft, but I'm sometimes okay. And so we're good representatives to send up there. So we had our biggest school competition ever, which, as I mentioned before, was cross-border, which is really nice to see. We got a sponsorship by the National Trust. We had youth opportunity stalls, which is about outreach in the community too. But basically, it was how those kids who were there could get good volunteering opportunities and to amp up their CVs or find what they're interested in, or get work experience. So those were Nikki, National Trust, I'm St. Nolan, volunteer now, and language ambassadors for Queen's and AEL. Yes. So the thing that we did at the start of this year was I was part of a research project with the BBC for LW classes. I know I was on one of those videos that you have to sit through and you don't find it. It's really bad. They made me. So they took a whole video and they just cut it down to it was intense and it's really awkward. So yeah, we did that, which is really, so we were part of kind of integrating debate and using youth voice in schools, and it's really important that we were part of that project because, as I said, it'll infiltrate down the school system. We started outreach off of the banner this year with the last thing I'll talk about, which is National Trust Conversations. And so, as you can tell, I have a connection with National Trust. I used to work there myself, and they were really enthusiastic with getting involved this year. So that means we were at a 2-day festival in September, and again, thank you all of you for coming and speaking. Particularly to some people who kept my nerves down. We hosted 18 mini debates. We were part of a big public forum discussion that was a really successful event for not just putting our name out there for potential collaborators and such the organisations there, but just the general public. You know, I do think that people will have heard about that and go, oh, we have that as a society. And we had public interaction. It wasn't just all of us sitting talking about stuff. There was some old lady who just hit Morgan over.
Could we nominate her for HLM?
Yeah, we should get her to be a member, speak at every single event.
So yeah, it's a really special time. But this is sum up. Positive outreach, because I'm kind of still in your format. I think I got outreach to more people than ever before, and I'm really proud for your outreach officer this year. I do think it constitutionally needed change, which I'm happy to pass, because I'm so tired. But yeah, I'm really proud, and I'm really happy I got to do this year. So thank you.
And up next, the technology officer, Mr. Jake Kieran.
Right, so tech's been pretty decent this year. To my surprise, I've actually done quite a bit that I need to get through. Mostly I've just felt like I've sat in that corner and smiled a wee bit, but stuff in between. So we've had 22 debates recorded this year, including the special Keep-On debate back in June. I've recorded 21. I'd like to extend a special thanks to Mr. Matthew Bradley for recording the other, I believe, 2 weeks ago, when I had to go to the computer science forum. We also sadly lost one of the debates, the Christmas debate, which was sadly lost due to McAfee acting up and cutting off the access of apps to use the mic, something I didn't even know was possible. Nevertheless, I do apologise for my lack of awareness. I should have found a way to sort of check that. It has gone into a serious lockdown. Also, I apologise not least because I was very proud of my speech at that debate where I talked about the joys of tormenting children. But also because I lost the audio of Mr. Matthew Bryson.
What? Nothing happened. What?
Kill yourself.
What?
That would have been the crowning jewel of the black male public.
Never happened. There's no proof.
Don't worry, I'll be back with the recording. We currently are interview recording of the year on archive.org is the pressure debate. This happens to rather have fun and get it to one. With 316 views, followed by This House Regrets the East Rising on 278, and This House with Beers Up a Bird on 272. In other news, even though the Facebook live stream views are a little more dubious and confusing as to how much people actually watched, I have taken 2 notes on those. Our highest viewed video on Facebook was our joint debate with the PDB Archaeology Society. This actually remains at no rights. With 351 views. I am convinced this is because I listed it as a live stream Smash Ultimate for a joke. After launch, people were just itching for Smash. Anyway, I also did a similar trick on the EL talk with an anniversary gala, where I listed it as a stream of Cluedo, the Mysteries Continue. I don't know what this is, but it's surprisingly popular, because it drew in someone who, as far as I can tell, lives in India and has never been near Belfast in their life. Chinitra Veerawardhana, whose name I've just murdered. He dropped a like on the video, and for all intents and purposes, seems to have been drawn here by her love of Cluedo, the Mystery Continues. So, I'd like to thank Miss We have also managed to move debates on Spotify as well as on iTunes and archive.org, thanks to the help of President Emeritus Calvin Black. On top of that, I spent a substantial amount of time this year researching society history in the hopes of creating a comprehensive history page. It's up at the moment on the website, so I'm pleased to get that out there. Not quite perfect, there's still a few things to work out, a few dates to track down, but I'll try and do that before the end of my term. On top of that, I also edited our Wikipedia page substantially, so now all the councils of the revived era are now on the page. I also decided to use my weirdly large network of people I've been out drinking with to help organise a couple of events. I was able to provide the initial introductions and act as a liaison to the Computer Science Society, because that's tech related. And to organise and debate this national ban on autonomous weapons. I also provided an introduction between Literific and Third Street Studio, people who organise Stephen Williams' show, The Top Table, which has led to us eventually being able to get speakers onto that, so pretty happy with how that turned out. I also made an effort to get audiences to all the shows of that throughout the year. Since April 2018, and as far as I know, I've only managed to not send members to 2 of them. And I'd like to thank Ms. Chloe Ferguson and Mr. Shea Glasgow for their help in actually escorting those people to dates while I wasn't there. On top of that, I'll also be the first tech officer to draw up a standardised list of questions for the interview process. At long last, we just always forget to draw one up. We keep talking about it, but it just never happens. So I'll do that this week. And now that all sums it up, pardon me, recovering from the colds. Overall, it's been a great year. I really love these guys. They're great guys to work with. Genuinely, no bad experience. I'm really pleased with my choice for Tech Officer 4, who you'll find out about soon enough. And this has been a really great year for me. I'm really happy that I was approached to become a Tech Officer. I've really gotten used to doing the first day evening and coming and sitting in that corner and staring at that door. Wondering what its purpose is. And as I'm now moving on to Belgium next year, I'm going to be super sad not to be here every week. It's been a great year.
All right, now, please welcome, lastly and not leastly, our training officer, Mr. Russell Nairn.
Hi. I shall keep this mercifully brief in order to allow us to get on proceedings with the meeting. This time last year, roughly, when I made my tech officer, sorry, I'm still in Jake's space, training officer speech,
I promised that I would forge the Literific into, I quote, an army of darkness. And I think as the minions of Dark Lord Sauron, I think you all have become my little soldiers of darkness in going forward out onto the Irish circuit and improving our results. So, in training, what are the things to note that have been this year? Well, the obvious thing are the workshops that have been going on every few weeks, roughly, throughout the year. The original plan was to have them every 2 weeks. There's a little thing called Halloween, which immensely complicated the scheduling and led to them being a bit more sporadic. But they still occurred, and we still got a decent few of them, including, and with very little repetition of subject. The only repetition that occurred was a refreshers workshop, which I think was entirely necessary to introduce people to the concept of debating in the first place. So we've had workshops focusing on bringing people into debating, and then we've had workshops on more complex things such as teamwork and style and substance and structure in debating, which I think have greatly helped to improve those who attended them when they're speaking. Another workshop I'd like to draw attention to that I was very happy with was when Katie Hurd, who is a very, very qualified debater and judge, came down to Belfast today to give us a judging workshop on judging for both BP and non-BP formats. It was a very high quality workshop. Those of you who were there were the tests to Katie's immense ability, and it not only improved my knowledge of the subject, but improved the knowledge of the subject for everyone in the room, and allowed them to sort of go out and spread it like a plague of knowledge. Outside of those workshops, what else have I been doing on council throughout the year? We talked about the NI Opera. When Hugh mentioned the NI Opera and that it was about a production of Sweeney Todd, I remember sort of making an enthusiastic squeaking noise and asking if I could help, because I'm a massive fan of Sweeney Todd, and it was very interesting work in that regard. So I was at all of those meetings helping them to figure out and explaining what debating was, because opera sorts, I'll say as a dramatist myself, the dramatic and theatrical sorts tend to struggle sometimes in front of the things we deal with. Otherwise, I was unfortunately not at the Christmas debate, but I am informed that a very similar looking gentleman by the name of Santa Claus gave a high quality performance for you all, so I hope you can enjoy that. It's a great shame I wasn't able to see her. I hear that he accidentally lost the bell when he was going to run in badly screaming ho ho ho. Thankfully the bell has been recovered, so you can all sleep easy and know that Santa Claus is indeed not that incompetent. Otherwise, that's roughly it. If I was to make some notes that my successor, whoever they should be, can pick up on for next year, be aware of scheduling and basically plan in advance for all your scheduling to go horribly, horribly wrong, and be prepared for things to go off. Don't be disheartened if workshop attendance falls off. That's just kind of what happens as the year progresses. As long as you're still getting consistent basic for your teaching, you can work quite well. But also just get big into that promotion. Try to get as many people taught as possible. Because I know this is, if I'm going to be honest with you, in the first years, we've had really, really consistent teaching for people that are going away to IVs, and we have definitely seen the results. We have performed better IVs like this year than we have in a very long time, and arguably if ever. So I'm very happy to say that, and I hope that we can continue that, and I hope we continue training people very well next year. It's a very good community training officer. Thank you very much.
All right, we're nearing the exciting bit of the elections, but first we must approve the returning officer. The returning officer is the person who will be assisting me in counting the votes and who is here as a non-interested and unbiased party. So we have personally selected from what was obviously an incredibly long list of potential candidates that the best of them all was, as you see here, Mr. President Emeritus Ben Murphy. But it requires a vote of the House to approve that we trust him. So, if you wish to vote in favour of approving Mr. Murphy as the returning officer, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Don't take it past me. That was our pass.
say you're
There's too many of them here.
You know what? The ayes have it then. The ayes have it. Mr. Murphy is approved. Good job. All right. Now we are here for the serious business. And as is tradition, and I almost forgot this part, as we're moving on to elections now, all those who are currently on council and standing for different positions must return to pedestrian seats.
I walk alone in the room.
Come back for you.
Why are you leaving, James?
I am wrong.
Alright! Pay attention! We shall firstly be going for the executive positions. So, I'll give you the brief outline of the format so that no one's like running around like headless chickens when it's time to do things. There shall be, for every election, 2-minute speeches for every candidate that is standing. Afterwards, there will be allowed time for a brief number of questions, after which we shall then go forth and count the votes. And I pray to God there are no ties this year.
Oh,
I am.
so like Peter Dunn's not running the fuss.
I pray. And oh yes, it's just for clarification, it's because it was approved in the standing orders, we are using the election system that was standing before this evening, not as it was amended, because it is not yet proper.
Wasn't amended?
It wasn't amended. Oh flip, we didn't change it.
Yeah, we're still getting the solution.
What was that? Ignore that last one then, I was wrong. Right, so we do firstly go to the election for president, because now we have the opportunity to elect someone who can make jokes beyond referencing early 2000s children's media. Which is the only joke that I know. So, we shall now move on to the 2-minute speeches. So I welcome up to
Well, President, I really hate to stop your flow, but are we not doing HON members first?
those are after the executive elections in the running order as was approved.
Oh, I think that's pulled it.
No, you're alright, sir. The 3 executive elections will happen first for president, secretary, and treasurer, and after that will be the nominations. For honorary life memberships, that'll be the running order. So, I now do please welcome up, speaking firstly for the position of president, Mr. Russell Nairn.
Yo, so I do English, and I do politics, I do drama, and I do debating. And to some this may seem like I'm a man of opposing interests, but in the Literific I have found a home. A place where rigorous political discussion can meet with the theatrical and rub together in an orgy of good, factual crack. I want to be president because I love the society, and I want to do everything I can to help it grow. I did the Irish Times final in my first year at university, and I'm sure you've all heard me speak at numerous of our different debates. And it's important, I think, for a debating society to have a president who is first and foremost a debater. As president, my debating experience would not only assist in guiding the council's vision for the society, it would ensure that meetings were chaired in an orderly, yet entertaining manner. As a chair for our ordinary meetings, I would bring a flair for the theatrical proceedings. Funny, but firm, I can handle both serious motions and the more comedic affairs. I would ensure the evening maintains the spirit of friendly debate, whilst also cracking down hard on disruptions to order to ensure that everyone gets a chance to have their say. Open to one and all, it reads across the top of our turf cards. And as president, I would take this principle to heart. At social events, I won't be afraid to get up in the mix and have the crack with members new and old alike, with special emphasis being placed upon reaching out to first-timers and those who aren't sure if the society is for them. I was made to feel welcome by people when I first joined, and as president, I want to ensure that no prospective member is left feeling out in the cold. As president, I would ensure that we recommence the distribution of posters around campus for every single debate and every event we host, ensuring that we not only attract as many people as possible, but also that we are ingrained into the consciousness of the student and the university body, so we can get the respect and attendance a society like this deserves. It would mean a lot to be your president. The Literific is one of the greatest groups of people I've ever been a part of, and I would give my all to ensure that it grows and succeeds. Thank you very much.
And now, welcome up to give his speech for the position of President, Mr. Matthew Bradley.
So I spent all weekend trying to write a speech for tonight, but I don't think any speech could truly sum up the 2 years I've had in the society, which I can genuinely say were the best 2 years of my life. This society has given me so much, and I think it's now time for me to give back. But I think you'll know that already. I'm going to try and prove to you why I not only know how to lead the society, but that I can take it in an exciting new direction. I told you what I've done as secretary, and I think you've all seen that, but in the position of tech officer, I did so much. I not only started at Facebook live streams, I redesigned pretty much everything, giving society a wonderful makeover, and I also created a certain unofficial meme forum, which has got a bit of infamy at the moment. I don't see a council position as a list of criteria to be fulfilled, but an opportunity to be creative. In the position of president, I want to surprise you. You may have read my manifesto. I'm not going to tell you every idea I've got in my head tonight, and definitely not every idea I've got in those documents on my PC, because I've got a lot of them. But overall, what do I want to do? I want to make sure people feel included. I'll sit down with council at the beginning of the year and work out an inclusion strategy to make sure that everyone feels welcome in the society. And if that means changing a few things, so be it. At the front, I'll probably be a bit different to how I was as secretary. I probably won't be as over the top because, let's be honest, being up there for only 10 minutes allows me to get away with far more than I ever should. But I will be a welcoming president, hopefully. Talks with guest speakers are another thing. I've got quite a nice idea for how we can have student-led talks with prominent figures throughout the community, but again, I don't want to spoil things. I also want to have public speaking workshops for the wider Queen's community, so that everyone can learn how to public speak. I think it's a really invaluable skill, and to be a part of this society is a lot more than debating. It's about the connections that you make. I know that becoming president is a big responsibility, and I know I've told many of you that I didn't want to run at various points, but that's because I know exactly what's involved. I've been here for 2 years. In the role of tech officer, I was far too active and did far more than was ever expected of me, and it pretty much broke me. But I'll be broken next year. I know what to expect. Please vote for me. I don't like asking that. I don't particularly like saying nice things about myself. But here we are. Bye!
I now open up to the floor any questions. Questions to be directed to be directed to both candidates and to be kept as brief as possible because we have already been here for quite some time. Mr. Sullivan.
What is the biggest problem which currently faces society, and how will you fix it?
I'll go to Mr. Nairn to respond first.
The biggest problem that the society currently faces, I think, is one we have to look to the past to realise it's a problem in the first place. If we look at the position of the society back in its earlier years, if we talk 40s, 50s, 60s, and we look at the position of other large debating societies on the island, the Literific is relatively good at behaving as small fry. And I think that is a problem. I think it's something we need to fix. I think we need to make it so that the Literific has the same level of prestige and draws the same level of attention as something like one of the trendy debating societies, as something like UCC. In my honest opinion, it can draw as much attention as the Oxford Union if we put our time and effort into it. That is something that I think is the biggest problem that society has currently, and the biggest thing is restoring that prestige and bringing us to a level of renown that we deserve as a society. How does that come about? I had to cut it out of my speech, but I was running out of time. I really believe that we can do in the likes of stuff like the other unions and inside of the Oxford Union and invite politicians and notable personalities to be giving speeches at the society. Not just guest chairing. Guest chairing is important. We can have guest chairs, and guest chairs are great, but I think there is definitely a market for us to just have lectures given by notable people that not only society members want to attend, but the wider public at large want to attend and bring interest in society and get more people attending regularly. You know, I want to be a case where we fill out the centre to the max and maybe even need to get something bigger.
Mr. Bradley?
I would be of quite a different position to that. I think the biggest problem, actually I'm not saying the biggest problem to begin with, but I'm just going to say something on the topic of the Southern universities. I don't think we should try to be like them. Straight up. Because the thing I see when I look out every single Thursday is a community of people. And that's a community that not only I feel is great fun, but they recognise that we are not the best. And I don't think that matters. Try to make us like Trinity. We will never do that. Yes, we've got 1850 on the logo, and yes, we've got it everywhere, and we like to say we're the Order Society of Queens. We were refounded in 2011. This is like the Doctor Who reboot. Yes, I had to mention Doctor Who somewhere. But we came back in 2011. We're a small fry because we're a small fry. I think the biggest problem facing our society, and I think it's interesting that both of us mentioned in our speeches, is inclusion. I think the freshers we've got this year, love you all, you're brilliant, but there aren't as many as there have been in previous years. And I think the society has always, and I think it will, for like a time in the future, be seen as the thing that's often said, an old boys club. Now I see the irony of me with this accent saying that, but I think an inclusion strategy at the start of the year really is the way to make the society for everyone. As I said in my manifesto, the quote full Ragnarok, the Literific is not a place, it is a people. When we stop thinking of it as the society, and more as us working for you guys, which is what we do when we go above and beyond, we're not doing it for ourselves, we're not doing it for that logo, we're doing it for you guys. And I think if the society is as good a place for you and anyone else who wants to be in it, that is our priority. So making sure that it is welcoming, because I think we could go a lot further, and brilliant and as wonderful as I know we can be is the main priority.
Any other questions in the room? Go to Mr. Patton.
Mr. Mayor, whenever you were running
Has to be right with both candidates.
Outstanding points, guys.
Okay, fine. I will phrase this as gonna. Well, it's phrased in what you've done, but it'll be both. You campaigned on making the Literific the minions of the Dark Lord. How do you feel both of you will promote or refuse this ideology going forward?
Yes, I kind of have to first because of that. Minions of the Dark Lord is an interesting ideology, but the thing I question is who is the Dark Lord? If it's Satan, nah, don't think we're a Satanist society, sorry. If it's the president, no. You may think that, on Thursdays, let's be honest, I do go a bit overboard. I do like put, hours in this making sure that my 10-minute bit is amazing. But it's not about the president, it's about you guys. So instead of being minions of the Dark Lord, we will be, not the leaders of this army, an army with a great and bountiful leader. That is what either of us could give. I think either of us should aspire to be a leader that is not seen as dark and distant, but one that is with the membership. So the idea of a Dark Lord, no. Also, if there was a Dark Lord, I kind of was a Dark Lord for a while. In 3 months, I was like a puppet president, and we all know how that went.
Mr. Nairn, respond.
I think it's necessary to make a clarification regarding, because you misquoted me slightly by saying minions of the Dark Lord. What I specifically referred to was the creation of an army of darkness. And rather than a fascistic, leader-centric state, an army of darkness is more like a communistic love collective, in which we all work together to further our dark aims. Specifically, when I was going into training, referring to an army of darkness was sort of taking the IV circuit by storm and ensuring that society maintains a formidable force in competitive debate across the island. But if I were to rephrase it in regards to an army of darkness now, I think it's important that we see the Literific as an army of darkness in terms of its unity and desire to work together. What does an army do? An army helps each other out. An army looks after each other. So in that way, I will say that I will forge us into an army of darkness, as I think both of us very much intend to do, through inclusion and making sure everyone feels like they have a place and a role in this army, no matter where it is. And I think that's how you become an army of darkness under my presidency.
I'm going to allow one more question. And in the interest of time, for the remainder of the evening, I'm going to be trying to keep questions and responses like under a minute, because you'll thank me when we get out of here and the clocks still say PM. Right, so I'll go to Mr. McSparron.
Okay, this stage next year, one of you two is going to be standing where she's currently standing, okay? At the end of that year, what is it you want as the achievements for this society? What do you want next year that makes you go, this is a bigger, better, and overall superior society than what it is at the minute?
Sure, Nairn.
What do I want to see? Well, you said bigger, better, overall, greater. I want to see things bigger, better, and overall greater. And the way that I intend to bring that about, the way I intend to see that with everything sort of improving and bringing society greater. If we talk about getting more people to attend meetings, I think the important thing to realize is the best way to ensure that more people attend meetings is ensuring that more people who attend meetings want to stay and go to more meetings. I think a thing that we realize is we get those debates where like 70, 80, 100 people show up. The important thing is realizing what do we do to make sure that those 40, 50 people who aren't regular members are going to come back. What do we do to get them to pay their membership fee, show up to everything, come to the formal, get really, really engrossed in this army, if I'm going to continue that terminology in a sort of community fashion. Bring that about, so make sure people are they want to be part of it that way. Bigger, better in another way, I want more prestige for society. I want society to be hosting bigger events. So an example of that is I want to get politicians in to do speeches. I want to get big personalities in to do speeches. That's something I want to do. I want to fill out lecture theatres. I want it to be great. That's it.
Mr. Bradley.
I think with what do you want to achieve, I think that's a massive question, and I could be here all day saying things. But I think one of the greatest achievements the society has is when you see someone who in the first few weeks can barely stutter out a point of information or sits completely quietly, and then a couple of weeks later, even at the end of the year, they give a speech. That is such a good feeling to see someone who's progressed so far. Someone that their first speech wasn't great, and at the end of the year, they gave a really good speech. I think that is the measure of our success. Because the measure of our success isn't mine. I don't think it's size. It's you. You're the measure of our success. And while I want to run talks as well, and I do have a fairly robust idea for the way we should do that, which is student-led, where students give questions to politicians, and it's entirely, by students, for students. It's all about the membership and the potential membership. And I think if I could stand up there at the end of next year and say something like, and see possibly double this amount of people, and say, this was a damn good year. We had some new events, people were surprised by what we did, and they said, I never knew we wanted that. I think that's the measure of our success. Just be brilliant.
Right. We're now going to move on to the ballot. Before anyone starts shifting about, I'm going to tell you how this will work.
Ladies and gentlemen, so you all have your attention. All votes counted and one spoiled vote. There's a clear decision. The next president of the 170th, 71st, the president of the 175th session,
Mr. Bradley, did you say that you had something to say?
I did, but I don't now, apart from thanks.
Right. Okay then, we shall move swiftly onwards then to the elections for the position of Secretary, for which the candidates are Miss Chloe Ferguson and Ron. Hey. So, I welcome up to give a speech Miss Chloe Ferguson.
Hi everybody. So, those of you who don't know, I'm Chloe, and I'm perhaps running for Secretary. I was shocked at the 101st section of Literific. So you listen to my officer's report, and I perhaps have a small record of getting stuff done, and I can promise you if you're electing me Secretary, that's what I'll do. So Secretary is one of those roles where you don't really know what they do. They're just kind of one of those, like, no offense to you or Peter Dunn, you know what I know, gremlins working in the background, getting stuff done. What do they do? Well, they do minutes, and which I do have experience of doing for the school of any adults SSECs, and while I would have perhaps a less eccentric approach to minutes, and if you have ideas, I wouldn't stand up there all monotone and not be entertaining here, I would try my best. I had this video about a meme of the previous week, so meme of the week, and there was submissions, and like a funny visual aid to accompany my minutes. It also kind of does get sensitivity, and so, but there's so much more. The Secretary seems to be the backbone of society. It's to help other members of council keep track of emails and administration communications, but it's also meant to be a voice for the members, a voice that does communicate with you guys, whether that's in the pub, before debates, after debates, on social media, and I think I am qualified to be that voice. So I'm going to tell you a brief story, and those of you who don't know, I am selected police officer of the city. Know this. I am overly enthusiastic about everything. I will sign up to everything, but I physically just can't do it. So when I was kind of looking at what my final year should be like, I was wondering, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I go for this? Should I actually focus on my degree? And when I was deciding about it, the police officer was going to do school rep stuff. I assembled my best gal pals and Matthew Bradley was person. And had a wee chat about what I wanted in life, blah, blah, blah. And the solution came up. I was like, well, why don't you run for a litter position? Like maybe those other things would make you happier. And I could say it was certainly the moment that was suggested to me, my heart actually broke. To imagine my final year even for a second without Literific, it wasn't nice. I had this instinctual gut feeling, and I think that gut feeling is the drive that makes me qualified to be your secretary. I love the society. I've gone from being that quiet girl in the corner that no one really knew, that was kind of showed up that everybody voted was too scared to even utter a POI, to someone who's able to stand up here, do a speech, run for secretary, never thought that was going to be possible. I've literally been through the evolution of stages of Literific. And over the last 2 years, I can say without a doubt it's made me who I am still. I want the society to be more accepting and accessible. I want it to be more inclusive. I want it to be a society for the members. I really like the idea of doing all that stuff, but as long as we've got it right here, that's what matters. Question came up as well, what you want for society in the future. I want everyone to be, like, cliche answer, be happy. I want everyone to have a nice community around them. So if society is so much more than just the debates, it's about the people, and I think that's what I could be a great place for. So thank you.
Yep, Ron does not desire to give a speech, so we move now to any questions. Once again, be strictly imposing like a 1 minute limit on questions and answers because time. So, any questions for us first?
Okay.
Mr. Bradley.
This question is for 2 reasons. One, because I enjoy making you uncomfortable, and 2, because you call me a gremlin, you prick. So, I'm going to give you a question I know you'll feel uncomfortable answering. Name 3 things as secretary I did actively badly and how you'd improve.
Okay, so there's one thing. My knowledge, I don't want to like misgender, he doesn't have a trainer. I think one of the things that could be improved on, and I think do the whole optics line, is having women up at the front, and I think it's really good representation. Two other things. I would not use a megaphone. Honestly, I find megaphones really distracting from course. I also don't like thumbs. So I think we did those three things wrong. Deal with it. That's for all I care.
Yep. All right, any other questions in the room?
Yeah.
Mr. McCallion.
What would you, this to both candidates,
You have a minute?
what would you say is the thing that you most admire about your the other candidates running in the race?
What I just admire about Ron, well, his great ginger hair. Apart from that, I have to say Ron is like the society, because if I vote for Ron, you vote for someone else in society. I really love everyone here. I really admire that we all come from different places, that we all have different beliefs, but we're still able to be respectful of them. Yeah, that's it. That's the answer. The politician's answer, but for me.
Mr. Glasgow.
How do you plan to balance the role as a part-time student officer and the secretary of the library?
Okay, and so yeah, there's real balancing. There always is with anything that we do. I don't think those two have to be completely separate, if I'm being honest. I think there's so much that I can do with the platform of being women's officer to help Literific. So there's a whole idea I have of freshers that I want to have her voice heard on campus. I want that to be a Literific event that they host for the student union. Okay? These things can go together. I know we shot hard, we get along with the student union. Well, guess what, guys? I'm a part of it now. I think they can go together. I think, yeah, there's going to be that balancing. If anyone who knows me, I take on a lot. But I think they have to be separate. I think it would be really nice to compromise. We can start to bridge that gap in between us and the hard feelings towards the unions that do not need to be justified anymore.
All right. So that will wrap up the questioning. We shall now move to opening the ballot.
Ladies and gentlemen, the votes are in.
Captain Doctor,
And the results that can be described as a closely fought race. Decided as the candidate, it will be your next secretary with 171st session of the Literary and Scientific Society is Tony Ferguson.
So now move on to the election for the position of Treasurer. The candidates are Mr. Matthew Bryson and Ron.
Okay. So I'm going to start off with a little story. When I first came to the my first debate was a debate called Transgenderism as a Mental Illness. Let me tell you, it's literally one of the most horrific things I've ever listened to. And I believe someone close to me actually described it. If ears could be crucified, I think this is what it would feel like. And immediately I went up to Mr. Rob Whitehurst, who was the secretary. He had announced there was post representative, you know what I'm trying to say, elections, and I stepped up from it. And so why am I telling you the story of the first time I entered the Literific? Is because from day one, I saw something I could help. So I signed up immediately. And that attitude of wanting to help the society, 3 years on, hasn't changed. I absolutely adore this place. It's given me so many good memories, so many good friends, and genuinely has been there for me in rough times. So I asked myself, how can I now serve the society? After 2 years of internal, I'm simply going to humbly ask you all for a promotion. And I'll tell you why. When it comes to money, you need a steady hand. You need someone who's experienced, who's mature, and I think who's not going to get overwhelmed by the sense of what they're dealing with. And I think given my 3 previous years on council, and if I do get elected, it would be a record 4th on council. And in my role as the internal for 2 years, where in the 2 years I never failed to get speakers, amassing 288 speakers over my 2 years. I think if you're looking for someone experienced, mature, who's not going to get overwhelmed, who's going to represent the society, because frankly I love it, I'm your man. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, any questions for Mr. Bryce? And really, that's interesting. And I will ask that we keep all questions serious in the interest of time. If your question is a joke, we will move on. We are moving on, and we are opening the ballots.
I have a question. So for every outgoing payment to the society, you fill in what's called a TAP form. You know what TAP stands for?
Not a clue. So partially why I gave my speech about my credentials is because I can't actually state that I've done something like this in terms of a treasury university. I haven't. But what I can say is that in every role I've been given, I have done what is asked of me. So I will be given guidance by Shane, we talked about this. And given the fact I do a maths degree, I think this should...
You do well though.
I think given the structures that will be in place to help me, I think I can do a really good job and succeed in this role, because the structures that will be given to me and the help that will be given to me, I think I can go a long way with.
Right. Mr. Sullivan.
So, you've been doing really well as internal.
Yep.
Why do you want to be treasurer instead of going for the title of, eternal convener?
I did consider it for a second, but I think it was time to move on. Because there is many people in this room who've literally only known me as internal convener, or internal convener as me. They've never known another internal convener. And I think to stop that role and somewhat get a monopoly on it would be unfair to genuine people who want to also help the society. And frankly, given the fact that I've done it for 2 years, I think I've proven myself capable to move up and then have more responsibility and help the society in a bigger way.
Right. That will conclude the questions.
Makes me really out of breath, so. By pleasure to announce that by unanimous vote that I can only describe it as ill-advised, Matthew Bryce has been elected. Sorry, I run out of breath. The treasurer of the 171st session of the Literary Society.
Now for something entirely different.
Hey!
Alright, so instead of continuing the elections, now that the executive positions have been dealt with, it is time for the nomination of any honorary life memberships. This is where if you're nominated for one, you're considered a member of the society for life, and you're to be nominated here. These nominations are for the purpose of any member of the society who has gone entirely above and beyond anything that could have been expected of them for the position that they hold as either a member of council or an ordinary member. And I believe there are a couple here that are going to be nominated. So I will go firstly to Mr. Matthew Bradley.
I think when you hear going above and beyond for the society, I'm going to do a speech because that happened last year and Bryson made me cry. So I'm going to try and make this person cry because that's fun. So when you think of someone who's gone above and beyond for the society this year, there's been one person I think defines that completely. I'm going to do what Bryson did and leave the name to the end just for suspense in case it wasn't completely obvious. She led us at conversations, pretty much organising the entire thing by herself. She did drunk lectures. She organised possibly the best schools comp I've ever seen. It was incredible. And has given so much to this society, so much time, so much effort, so much planning, so much documentation. And she's also been a great friend to every single person on council. So From one HLN to hopefully another, it is my honour to nominate Chloe Ferguson for an honorary life membership.
Second. All right, so the vote is to award Miss Chloe Ferguson with an honorary life membership. All those in favour, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye. Please count.
No, that seems pretty unanimous to me. So, Miss Chloe Ferguson, honorary life member of the Literary and Scientific Society. And I believe that you two have some words that you wish to say.
Hi. So I was going to do the same systems thing, so I would like to nominate Shane Glasgow for honorary life membership. Yeah, okay. Going above and beyond. In every aspect of council, Shay has given his everything and drive and time. He gives up his weekends to go accompany people to IVs. He did not inherit a great financial situation, let's be honest. He basically just turned it all around for us. He's been a great friend to everybody on council. He's just been brilliant, and I have to nominate him.
We have someone to second that nomination.
Second.
All right, so if you would wish to vote in favour of awarding Mr. Shay Glasgow with an honorary life membership, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
I would say that once again is fairly unanimous. So, Mr. Shay Glasgow, my greatest friend, it is my brilliant pleasure to award you with an honorary life membership of the Literary and Scientific Society. Well done. Absolutely deserved.
Thank you.
All right. And so I believe that concludes the honorary life membership nomination. Will I get mine next year?
Yeah.
Let's not forget.
Wait, do we not know Calvin?
Oh no, Calvin only has one.
Absolutely.
All right.
Do not give me one.
Sorry.
All right. Moving swiftly onward, we move to the next election for council positions. And get ready for this one. For the position of internal convener, the candidates are Mr. Russell Nairn, Mr. Olkin McSparren, Miss Rebecca McMinn, and Ron. So,
Rebecca is Mr.
I thought you said Miss Rebecca.
I said Miss Rebecca.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't judge me so quickly. Alright, so I welcome up please to speak first Mr. McSparren.
Right, I was kind of hoping to be a few people sort of standing there, so just people look. Thank you, Marshall. So, thank you, Jack. So, it's actually really hard to joke about. So, essentially, it's this here. The Literific Society is something I came to about a year ago. I hadn't really heard about any freshers events or anything like that. I sort of just fell in here through friends of friends. And sort of within about 2 or 3 weeks in the university of being here, I kind of realised this is where I belong in the university, and that really this is a fantastic place, and this sounds so stopping, and I can't believe I'm saying it, but I really do appreciate the society, and I really do consider each and every single person in this room friends, even Jack Patton. But having said that, I want to go for internal convener because of how I feel about the people in this room and how I feel about this society. And so I've kind of got ideas for where I want to take this position. Now I want to say that other candidates running are incredibly qualified for this role. However, I do honestly believe I am the best person for the job. And with the ideas I have, I think we can achieve a lot. So I want to see more women in debates. It's one of the things which was commented on to me by people who've been to debates who haven't appeared very regularly. It's it does seem very man-centric at the front. I think we even had one guest chair referred to it as a mantle. I want to change that, where I want that we have got more representation from women in each debate. I also want to get more scientific debates. This is called the Literary and Scientific Society, and I think that we're sometimes focusing maybe just too much on the literary aspect, because it was one of my first ever debates. Someone said, I think we really should just rename this the Literary Society. We're the Literary and Scientific Society, and I think we need to implement that. Aside from that, I want to get more guest chairs, and I want to do more first-time speaker debates, because I think being a first-time speaker, going up there, sometimes against 5 other speakers who speak every other week here, it is intimidating and it's nerve-wracking, and as someone who's not a natural speaker up in front of crowds, I can concur with that. So I want to implement this in this role. I just want to say thank you for hearing me out. I sort of feel like, just like whenever a Doctor Who regenerates, it 2 minutes to kind of make an impact. It feels like the fingers crossed and we have one, but all the best.
All right, and to speak next, please welcome up Mr. Russell Nairn.
Right, so I've been in debating for many years. Since the age of 14, I've been deeply involved in this eclectic and often terrifying world of competitive debate. And over that time, I've learned a thing or two about what makes a good debate. Clarity, evident clash, room for creativity from speakers. All of these things and more are critical. As your internal convener, I would ensure we maintain a high quality of debate on our term card, alongside reaching out to main speakers in order to help them get invested in society. Regardless of your opinion on my speaking ability, there is no doubt I've done a lot of it. Beyond the Irish Times last year, I've been judging and speaking at IVs, alongside a large number of our House debates this year. In running our internal meetings, I would keep an atmosphere of order to ensure we get through proceedings as quickly as possible. However, I would by no means be fascistic in this approach, to ensure that we can still have fun in the process. I would ensure that everyone feels like they get to have a chance to say and influence what debates we do over the current year, and use my fist of justice to prevent the room from being dominated by a select few. I've had many of my suggested motions added to the term card over the last year and across my time in Literific, including the highest attended debate for the Society this year. This House believes Christianity is a valuable part of our culture. I know what makes a good debate, and I would be keen to make our debates enticing without resorting to edgy statements. I'd be working with Council constantly to invite as many guest chairs as we can muster to our debate. Guest chairs are important, as they both increase the prestige of our society and improve the qualities of discussion with their expertise on the matter. With that in mind, I would also ensure a greater emphasis is placed upon advertising any of the guest chairs who will be present in order to draw people in who may otherwise not attend. I care very deeply about the society and believe that another year on the council would allow me to do a lot of good for it. I would be honoured to be your internal convener.
Now to speak thirdly, please welcome up Miss Becca McMinn.
I'm going to follow the wee bit of a trend tonight and give you a wee personal anecdote to start me off. So just when I arrived here at Literific, I was quite different, to be honest. I was very shy, I had basically no self-confidence. The thought of standing up here and giving a speech to this amount of people would have absolutely horrified me. And over time, not only have I learned that this is something I'm capable of, but I've learned that this is something I really, really care about. And not only that, but I was able to feel welcome here. I feel like I owe a lot to this wee society. But if you guys would be so kind as to allow me to principal, I'd love to work to make sure that everybody else can have that experience. I think internal is a really important position because they're the person who gets people in seats basically for the debates. They're the person who go through to sign up, but I think internal leader could also do a lot for inclusion in the society. They can be the person reaching out basically and encouraging people to sign up, especially new people and especially more women. Really what I care about is making sure that we have speakers every week, of course, but also making sure that those speakers feel like they have something worth contributing. One of the things I mentioned in my wee manifesto is making sure to meet up with all main speakers before the first debate. is something my professor has done this year as internal, and I think it's so important. I know that it needs a lot of dedication and enthusiasm, but I am totally prepared for that. In terms of the organisation, I know it'll be an organisationally very demanding role, but planning and hard work pardon me, is something I'm totally prepared for. Because if something needs done, it will be done. Because I really do care about this week's society, and I would love the chance to work at it and make it as good as it can be for as many people. Thank you very much.
All candidates back up for questioning. Sorry. Now, it's the 1 minute rule will still apply, obviously, but because there's a lot more to be said this time around, maybe it should be shorter. I'm just going to take that minute. I'll go firstly to Mr. Bryson.
So I have a few questions, but I'll start with this one. So the first semester of this year, we intended to get maidens in. Many of the council know we actually did try to get maiden speakers in, and it took us 8 debates to get our first maiden speaker properly that wasn't already part of the society before. And I think every single one of you have somewhat alluded, if not directly mentioned, the fact you want either women or maidens speakers to be more prevalent, to speak more and to get a better chance. How does this actually manifest? Because we've had this discussion for my entire 2 years about how we do indeed want to get women, how we do indeed want to get more maiden speakers. And while I think I've hopefully done an all right job, it at no time has been as easy as saying, oh, I want you to come. Many people say they're not ready, many people say they're not willing to speak on this week, that week. So how does it actually manifest? That's my question.
Go to Vulcan to respond first.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. That's a great question. So it was, look, I remember my first ever speech in the society. I had about 4 hours notice and had to write out something on the spur of the moment. Yes, debating is stressful. Yes, going up here is stressful. That will never change, okay? However, you look at events like the competition where we have the maiden speakers, the maidens event. That there encourages people to go up and speak with they've only got maiden speakers. It encourages them to go up without the fear of having experienced speakers such as ourselves there. As well as that there, you could have teams where you have 2 maiden speakers. You can maybe not get full ensemble of 6 maiden speakers, but if you had 1 maiden speaker in the opposition, 1 maiden speaker in the proposition, and then 2 other experienced speakers with them, that'll build up their confidence, because it is a team effort at the end of the day. And debating is one of those things where you have to work together. So that's how I would encourage people by making the noise. This is scary, but it's something you will grow into. Thank you.
Alright, I'll go to Russell to answer next.
Okay, so getting maidens and getting new speakers in general is going to be really, really difficult always. And I'll tell you my particular approach to this, because the approach to getting maidens is not just something that can sit on the shoulder of the internal convener alone, it's something the internal convener can guide the rest of the council in supporting. So as internal convener, one of the things I want to make sure is, first of all, we have debates people want to speak at. I think if we have spicy motions that people really want to speak at, that is the first step in getting maidens in. But that's easy to say. What else do we do together? Well, you work with people like the training officer, you work with people like the president, you work with people like the secretary, to make sure that the entire message the society is pushing is how inclusive and easy it is to get into speak. And make sure that when people ask about speaking, when they ask anyone about speaking, they are notified of how easy it is and how they will not be made fun of if they mess up, how nobody is concerned, how everybody just wants them to have a good time. So you can hold a council message from that. From my perspective, what I can do, I will be messaging people, I will talk to people in the pub, I will literally hunt them down and bring them in a kind way.
And Ms. McMinn to respond.
I very much agree with Russell that it doesn't and shouldn't fall entirely on the head of the internal convener. It is a team effort to try and get as many people in to speak as possible. I think really the key to getting more maiden speakers and more women as well, it's finding the people who come every week and sit in the back and just watch and don't take part. I know that because I was that person for a long time. I know that there's so many people who come every week. They enjoy it, they just like listening, but I think it's so important that someone actually goes out and reaches out to those people and says you have something to contribute. And I think that is where really the future of Literific lies, those people. So.
And any other questions in the room? I'll go to Mr. Sullivan.
So this is on a similar note to Matthew Bryson's question. So one of the problems I think we have in society is that we a lot of times don't have very big diversity in speakers. So we'll have a women's right debate where there are no women speakers, or one side is all women and one side is all men. We'll have debates about Islam where none of the speakers are Muslims. We'll have debates about LGBT issues where none of the speakers are LGBT. How will you fix this? If you think this is a problem, because I don't know if it's a problem this year. I just think it's a problem the years I was here.
I'll go to Ms. McMinn up in this side.
I think one thing that could be done for that would be really helpful and really important is more debates with other societies. Like you're saying there about you have LGBT motion with no LGBT speakers. There's an entire society for that. And we actually didn't have an LGBT debate this year, I believe. But that going forward, that is something that I think could help eradicate that problem. Reach out to other societies and speakers who know what they're talking about and
And Russell to respond.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is making sure that guaranteeing if we're going to have a motion, now we're going to have some representation on that. The reason we didn't have an LGBT debate this year was because we didn't have the LGBT society with us because they weren't sure if they were going to be able to send speakers. So making sure that we can guarantee there's some representation in that regard. The second way that we ensure that we get more representation of speakers is similar to the way we ensure we get a wider representation of Canadians and female speakers and that kind of thing. Where the kind of person who comes to our debate, looks at it and then decides to stay forever is not the kind of person we're worried about attracting because they're going to stay anyway. We are talking about people who show up and they're in that crowd of 30 people, they go, leave and never come back. If we can get someone to speak, if we can reach out to someone in that regard and get them to speak at a debate, they will stay and they'll be more likely to come back. Once we can convince someone to speak, we can reach out to those sort of that minority of people who leave, then we can secure them. So that's where I think we need to focus our attention.
Mr. McSparrow?
I mean, I'm going to be echoing a lot of the points that Russell and Rebecca have made here, and there is no doubt we need to increase our relationship with other societies. I think that really goes without saying in the nature of this event, and obviously we need to make the Literific as attractive as possible for people to come back. However, if I'm elected the internal convener, it is my job to actively get those people. So I'm going to be befriending students, okay? I'm going to be doing what Matthew Bryson did. I'm going to be talking to students saying, yeah, do you want to come along? If this is brilliant, you should try and speak in this debate. And as I'm going to be concerned, is going out and getting people to speak in those debates. And I have no fear whatsoever in messaging people and saying, would you be interested in doing this debate? I mean, I've organised radio plays and films, so I can do this as well as something to organise.
Right, and with that I'm going to close out the questions.
And there's one ballot that was completely illegible, so it's been deducted. And after that count, I can announce that the winner was Russell Nairn.
Isn't that contrary to how the Constitution lays out multi-person?
No, because the first vote, one candidate got a majority of the votes.
Oh, okay.
So we only need to do one count in that instance.
Sorry.
Everything is above board. Solid.
Yeah.
I apologize. I retract my comment.
Alright, so moving swiftly onward, we go to the position of external convener, and I would bring her up again to speak to us. Standing for the position of external convener is Miss Rebecca McMinn and Ron. So I welcome up Miss McMinn to give her speech.
Me again. This is going to be much the same as the speech I did literally 5 minutes ago. So I already told you about the thing, what I've put out of it and what I would like to sort of give back. But an aspect that I haven't really mentioned yet is IVs. So I've been to 2 this year. I've been to UCB and Galway, and those 2 trips were genuinely 2 of the highlights of my whole year. They were so much fun. I'd love to be personal counsel, if feasible, let me, of course, who organises that for other people, because I know I'm going to put in time and dedication needed to the role. IVs are important to the society because it's just something new to learn. British parliamentary isn't something we use regularly, but it's such like an interesting skill to learn at IDs. And if elected, I'd love to work especially with the new training officer, whoever they might be, to make sure that the people being sent to IDs are like as fully prepared as they can be for it. And I know as well, especially for organising our own ID, and the external committee would work very closely with the whole rest of the council. So working as a member of the team is a really important part that I would like to go into. Like that, I think is really important to the society. I really care about them because they do wonders for your public speaking. And they're important for the society because, like, making a reputation for ourselves on the wider circuit and keeping up that representation. I know it's hugely demanding, but I know I have the skills and the passion to do it. This year, as I understand it, we've been doing really well on the Irish circuit. We've been doing better in IDs, and we've done really well at the Irish Times and stuff. And as external convener, I would just try my absolute best to allow that success to carry on and to make sure that as many people have the opportunity to compete for the society like on a wider scale as possible. So, thanks.
Are there any questions in the room? Mr. Bryson.
So this is actually something that I think on council there's actually some division on, so I don't think there's a wrong answer, I'm not going to trick you here. But what would you prioritise more when sending these people? Would you prioritise their fun and entertainment, or would you prioritise their success? So would you be happy if someone got all fours and enjoyed it, loved every minute, or would you be all firsts, but nothing is that great?
I don't see why you can't have both, to be honest. I think, like, regardless of whether you're pulling like fourths or firsts, it's your attitude towards it that is going to dictate how much fun you have out of it. I think, like, one of the things that makes our society so special, like from other societies, is that we kind of go there intending to have a good time and intending to like do it for what it's worth and just like give it your best shot. But at the end of the day, like if you take home a fourth, that's perfectly respectable, as long as you've given it your best shot and have a good time in the process.
Are there any other questions? Miss Ferguson, honorary life member.
So what would you do to encourage like speakers to go to IVs? So there's like kind of almost like there's like an area or like a brand of you have to be really experienced to go, but as you said yourself, it's really good to just go get the experience while you're there. So what would you do or implement to kind of bring new speakers into IVs?
Kind of wants the same as what we were talking about for like bringing new like native speakers into Literific. Like I went to an IV before I ever did a speech in Literific. Again, it's just kind of reaching out to the people that like you might not think would want to go, or who they themselves might not think that they would want to go, and just say like, this is an option, this is why it's really great, and this is why I feel like you specifically should get involved and go.
Okay. Mr. Manning.
For the second time in a row, Matthew Bryson took the original question that I asked. But I guess maybe to just come back to that, if it came down to a choice, say there was a limited budget and you can only send to certain particular competitions, or there's limited numbers and more people have applied to go to a competition, then we have the ability to send people to. I guess, would there be any criteria, or how would you select which competitions to go to, or which people would go to the competition?
I think you mean it in a sense like going back to Matthew's question of like so.
Like as in say there's some IV and we have 4 spaces and 10 people sign up.
Yeah.
Is there any particular way that you would pick the 4, or just first come first served, or how is there anything that you would do?
I think every big one like really good thing that we're trying to do is always have at least one, but preferably a team of people who have never been one before, just to try and like always like widen the participation a little bit, and after that I guess first come first serve, but always like try and have like at least one person who has never done it before, so that everybody can have an experience.
Okay. This is a brief question. Yes.
How prepared are you physically, mentally, and spiritually for navigating the sounds of a joke, but it's not, for navigating the stress and infuriation that is the miasma of the Irish debating circuit? How do you think you'll handle sort of absurdity? Do you think you can cope under that pressure? Do you think you'll be able to deal with their managerial infuriation?
Yeah, I suppose the answer. Kind of like organizationally demanding things and things that require a lot of admin and stuff don't really faze me. Like, you know yourself doing an English degree, like it requires a lot of like self-drive and you have to be very organized to get all this stuff done. Yeah, I mean, I kind of done a wee bit on the Irish circuit. I know trials and tribulations, shall we say. And again, it's just hard work. We'll see you along the way, I think so.
All right. And with that, we're going to close questions and open ballots, unless you're Genevieve, because she's not a member.
The results are in, and somebody either keeps on writing the candidate's name against the certain script, or they're holding the ballot. Sorry. The results are in, and I'm Alright, up next is the position of Outreach Officer. The candidates are Mr. Mark Gilmore and Ron. So please welcome the candidates.
Hi folks, so in my manifesto I basically went off on how much I love and am passionate about this society. I think I mentioned that this society does something amazing in bringing people together of all sorts of backgrounds and interests, and similarly I think we can pass on this inspiration, and I would be really passionate to be able to do that as Outreach Officer. And I think going into schools and passing on some wisdom, it's incredible. It's a real honour to do that. We have the chance to not only do that, but we get to indoctrinate the youth. By inspiring them is the most important part. And I really think this can have incredible impact also in reassuring pupils in secondary schools about the transition to university. And I know in some of the conversations I've had in the schools competition that people really felt more secure about next year or about the future in their educational pursuits, and also about debating in general. I heard from some of the pupils that they had a newfound passion in taking part in that competition for debating in general, and they would get more involved in their debate clubs. So I would like to take on and further the amazing work of Chloe. She's been a real inspiration for me in running this position. I believe the constitutional amendment put forward, I'd like to speak about that briefly. I personally interpret it as making the job easier, which I cannot complain to at all, and making it more of a team-based role. And I welcome this because it sounds like with last year's constitution, it was very easy to get bogged down. I don't want to get bogged down, I've got to agree. But anyway, we all have. Anyway, I think inspiring schools, it makes an incredible difference. And I believe outreach into the wider university is an incredibly important role. I would take this very seriously. It would be a great honour to do it because we are worth it. I think I just brought that from L'Oreal. We are worth it as a society to grow and prosper, and it would be an amazing honour to fulfil this role. Thank you very much.
Right, yes. Any questions for the candidate in the room? Ms. Ferguson.
Thanks for starting. So I was just wondering, because obviously when you go into the job, it's hard for some schools to actually let you go in and teach them, because they're like, why are these 19-year-olds just coming in pretending they know everything? You obviously get schools who are very happy to see you, but what would you do to outreach to those schools, and do you have any particular feelings, or how would you go to do so maybe across the border, because that's something we really talked about this year?
Yeah. No, I think that those concerns are valid in some cases. It's like, you know, we've just left school realistically and we're claiming, oh, we've secret and selling knowledge, we have wisdom at how to do this better. But I think that only adds to the increasing relatability of coming in. Students can, pupils in secondary school, they can relate to us as we are just a little further down the line. And I think in trying to warm schools up to us, so to speak, what we should do is just be incredibly honest about our intentions. It's not to show off, but we have a genuine interest in improving the debating skills and the inspiration of the pupils involved.
Mr. Nair.
All right, let's say you've gone to a school, you're doing a workshop, and you are giving a workshop to the 9th class. It's a class of children who have who are extremely difficult, have little or no interest in learning. How do you catch their attention? How do you make sure they behave? How do you get through to those who actually want to learn?
That would be a real concern and a real challenge in the position. But I believe the best way to grab people's attention is to throw in a bit of humour into the proceedings. You don't want a boring, you don't want lecture, you know. Pupils do not stand up to debate to be lectured to. So I think it is about increasing that relatability factor and inspiring a genuine interest in the students and not talking down to them, so to speak, but coming alongside them in outreach and increasing that passion. So whenever things get rowdy, I think throw in a bit of humour, you know, and come alongside them rather than talking down to them. And I just want to address Chloe's last point as well about going down south, because I realised I forgot that. I think it is very important to increase the outreach to all schools, and down south is very important as well to increase down there and our role there.
All right, with that I'm going to close out questions and we shall open up the ballot. Same as always, come up here, write the candidate's name on the
I have done this too many times with me. I'm very proud to announce that the outreach officer for the 171st session of the Queen Literary and Scientific Society will be Mr. Mark Gilbert.
Something a little bit different, because this is the approval for the position of Tech Officer. Now, Tech Officer, unlike the other positions, is one that is appointed rather than elected, so we simply need to announce the candidate who was appointed and then have them ratified by an ordinary ballot of members of the House here. So, the candidate who was successfully interviewed to be the Tech Officer was Mr. Luke Holmes. Approval for the position must now be voted through. So, if you would wish to vote in favour of Luke Holmes being the Tax Officer for the 171st session, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Unanimous? Yeah. Yes. Alright, unanimously, Luke Holmes is the Technology Officer for the 171st. So, we now move swiftly onwards to the next election, which is for the position of, there it is, Training Officer. The candidates for which are Mr. Olkin McSparren and Mr. Morgan Hickman. To speak first, I welcome up please Mr. Hickman.
So, I have two things I want to talk about. I mean, there's the literature. I've been in Literific for years, I've loved it. We've heard that from almost every candidate tonight, without fail, and it's obviously just as true. I joined in my first year, and just after Christmas time, the first debate was this House would support a post-Brexit United Ireland. We knew just about as much about Brexit now as we did then. That's aside. There is a lot to be said. So, 2 points I'd like to make. Firstly, competence. Secondly, things I'd like to do. Firstly, talk about competence.
when it comes to training, when it comes to public speaking, I have been doing public speaking like Russell since I was 14. I was involved in debating at school throughout my time. I was involved in mooting at Queen's, and I was involved in debating at Queen's since I've been here. Alongside Shay, I've competed in national competitions. Last year we won a national competition in London in mooting, and we are currently in the third round of one of the most prestigious mooting competitions in the UK. That said, what's the relevance of that to debating? It's public speaking, and that is the key thing I'd like to drive home. What our training is, what the workshops are focused on, is primarily how people can talk in public, giving people the confidence and the ability to talk in a way that engages people. That's our prime aim. Our second aim is to get them ready to speak in the Literific, and that's no mean feat, but it is part of what we need to do. So those are the two key things I like to work on, and the workshops primarily will be teaching people style, teaching people how to command a room, how to project their voice. Those are the key aspects I want to focus on. Beyond that, I want to show them structure in debating. I want to show them how they can perform in a Literific debate. I would like to change a small thing when it comes to training for IVs. I would like to run IV workshops as we have, possibly slightly different timetable, but I still want to run them. But secondly, I would like to run training sessions with those going on IVs. So those that are going that weekend or the weekend after, I'd like to sit down with them much in the same way as Matthew has been doing with those going to speaking at the Literific. I would like to do the same with those going to represent the society and the university in another competition, and to run a one-on-one coaching. That is something I've learned from mooting. I've judged and coached in mooting. That's what I'd like to work on. That's what I can bring. Thank you.
And now please welcome up Mr. McSparren.
Okay, I think I made that abundantly clear in the last speech today of how much this society means to me, so I'm not going to go into that again. But I want to say, I will not be an armchair general as training officer. I'm going to be involved in these competitions too. I know how nerve-wracking it is to go down there. I've taken part in national competitions. Myself and Mr. Matthew Bryson went down to Irish Times on 2 occasions and competed in it. I know what it's like going into an IV with 15 minutes to prepare a motion and having to come up with a bit of brilliance on the spot. I know it isn't easy, and I'm going to help everyone the way I was helped to get to the position where they feel confident enough that they can go up and speak like that. I have ideas too. I do, as well as what Morgan was saying, want to go and meet speakers who are going up to competitions, go over their arguments with them, read over their speeches, listen to whatever witty remark they've come up with and go, yep, that's landed, that's not landed. Listen to whatever point they've got where they're not sure if it's good or not, and give that subjective third-person view. I want to do that. However, I want to make people feel comfortable and understand that they may be competitive debating, they may be speaking on the Literific. This is not something they should be afraid of, but instead it should be something they should see for the incredible opportunity it is, and to nurture them in that. As training officer, I'm like a teacher, and I intend to be like a teacher, passing on what wisdom I have, but also learning from the students I'm with. And if I need help, I'll be the first to say it. I will go to Chloe, who has done skills comp, and say, Chloe, give me a hand with this because I'm not sure what I'm doing. I will go to Russell, who used to be training officer, and say, Russell, in your opinion, do you think I'm doing this in the right way? What would you do if you were in my situation? I'm not going to be infallible in this position, but I guarantee you I will commit 100% to it, and I will do the best job I can. I'm coming up to 2 minutes, I think. So I'm simply going to say thank you for listening to me tonight, and hopefully I can help anyone here who will be going to some competitive debates.
Both candidates to answer any questions. Are there any questions in the room? I'll go to Mr. Nairn.
So I'm going to assault you with the very awkward question I got asked when I was running for the same position you're running for, which is, and I'm going to expand upon it a bit because I think it's a better question. How wide do you think the scope of a workshop needs to be? So should it cover a lot of topics, or should it cover a few specific topics? And what are some of the examples of the workshops you would be looking forward to running where you're going to?
I'll go to Mr. Hickman to respond first.
Well, both. You need to have both general workshops and specific. I think you need the introduction workshop to give people an overview of what debating is, what public speaking is, and general ideas. You also need to then follow that up with specific training on different aspects of that. So I've been on a day training for speaking, and you end up doing you're being pulled from pillar to post, you're doing your structure of arguments, you're then moving on and doing your intonation, your projection of voice, and then you're moving back and you're doing your non-verbal communication. And all of that's very, very important. Too hard to get all in one session. So I think there needs to be focus on different core aspects. So to then answer your second part of your question, firstly, style. And I know that incorporates a lot of that. Secondly, structure. And into each of the workshops I would like to give, I would like to integrate training on the different roles in BP debating and literific debating, so people have an idea of what they are when they're going into it and what that can be used to do. And I would be able to follow up this training with the intention to develop an online accessible resource for people who are both members of the literific or external work, and that's a follow-up that gives people the foundations they need to then go out and develop and ask questions they want to know the answers to.
All right, and Mr. McSparran?
Well, obviously, no two debaters are going to be the same. So obviously what we're teaching them can never be exactly the same. However, I think that we should be taking quite a broad brush approach. So obviously you're going to have at the very beginning some workshops where this is debating, welcome to debating. You essentially tell them a lot of information. However, I think whenever it comes to debating, you then do have to narrow your feet. So one workshop will predominantly have to be, this is the style. This style is appropriate in this context. This style is not appropriate in this context. You're also going to have to do ones about points. How are you going to implement these points, and how are you going to write and structure your debate? And I think it's one of these things, and in my first few speeches, I had no clue about structure. And I think it's one of those things that people need to learn and we should really put emphasis on, is how to actually write a speech, how to write sentences and actually get your information down. You see it all so often, someone goes, right, I intend to be much further along, and it's helping them build up that structure. As well as that there, I'm going to echo Morgan again, I do think we do need to have some online resources to help people and look up, and I will happily go about making online resources which give you pointers and guides on various different matters. So it's a broad approach, but we can also focus in on the specifics when the situation arises.
Right, any other questions in the room? I'm going to go to Miss Ferguson.
Hi, I'm going to give you the same question I got of Chicago. So both of you are very busy people. You have your videography side, you have going into your Masters of Law or Bar. How do you expect to balance all the work? You know, it is like that building long types of commitment.
Just saying you respond.
My grandfather used to say a saying, if you want a job doing, give it to a busy man. That's pretty much how I look on taking on the council position in the Literific. If you give a man who's got all the time in the world, he'll sleep right until dinner time and then he'll try and do the job. I intend to be a busy man. As you become a busier man, really, I get bored so easily. I might go in bed going, I have to sleep, I want to do something else. You don't want to see doing this, it's something I'm looking forward to. I'm going to relish the busyness, Chloe. So,
And Mr. Hickman?
I am busy. I'm actually looking forward to, this would be part of, I'd be stepping away from a lot of things I'm doing currently, so I'm obviously on the moving team for Queen's, I'm the president of the Law Society. Those are two massive time commitments, and I'm very fortunate to say that that is something that is associated with my undergraduate work. When I go on and do the bar training, that was something I will be stepping away from that. Obviously I will still have a role in kind of being someone who they can contact because I'm still in the university. But I will not be competing on behalf of the University Commission. I will not be the president of the Law Society. I have been able to manage those commitments alongside my degree currently, so I'd be more than capable of balancing any additional commitments that the council and training officer would require with my training.
All right, are there any more questions? I'll go finally to Mr. Manning.
Thank you. So earlier, when we're talking about internal and about making people feel welcome to come and speak at debates, particularly people who haven't spoken previously at our debates or that are gender balanced or things like that. I guess my question is, would you see any role in terms of the trainings and workshops that you're doing on helping people feel confident to speak, even if they're not going to IVs, to help feel confident to speak at their internal debates, if you feel like that's something that should be addressed.
Mr. Hickman to respond first.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what role training has. They're able to reach out to people who don't have the confidence or don't necessarily, they definitely will have the ability, but not necessarily given the confidence of other people, telling them actually when you can do this. In the context of majors specifically. Secondly, something I'd like to do, and something I've certainly considered, is working with Ferguson, she's getting name dropped again, running a women in debating workshop. So giving people who are either members of the society already, who are speaking, or those who are they're sitting around on the seats at the outside, not necessarily wanting to put themselves out there, because a little bit nervous about how they'll be received, what they can do, and that would be something I'd like to focus on and work with Chloe to deliver that, given her experience in doing the training in the schools and in the schools com.
Right, and Mr. McSparrow?
Well, obviously speaking at the Literific each week is nerve-wracking. I mean, I go on every single week, and I think Rebecca said to you, the first time I ever went down to the IV, I'm terrified every single week. So I'm terrified right now, I'm just holding this here against my hands and shit. But I understand what that's like, and one of the things I want to make abundantly clear to people is this is meant to be something which is scary. However, you're gaining so much from it. You're putting yourself out there and you're being brave in doing that. And I want to get that speaker and I can go, when you can come to these training workshops, I think there's a bit of potential. They make it all interesting point. And I want to go to them and go, look, you want to do a debate. You should put yourself down for something. What interests you here? I will happily go over with you, style, point you're going to make, and see and help you out with this, because it's my job to do it and I'm going to treat it as such. And yeah, that's my answer.
Okay. Yep, we're going to close questions and open ballots. Same as before, up the front of the room, put the candidate's name on the paper.
And what was the closest result of the night? I can now say that there is a new training officer, and that new training officer for the 171st session is Mr. Morgan.
So we move on to our final election of the evening, and one which will be the shortest because the candidate is not here. But he has sent a short recorded message to by proxy, the closest we have for the two candidates, which is Mr. Conor Patrick McArdle and Ron. So,
right. So I'm going to attempt to press the video call button. He's not active, but just in case. Just in case.
But by the way, he did send us a 40-second recording, so we have that when we can get it up.
Yeah, we can get it up easily. Don't worry.
Can that go in the folder?
Oh, we can get it up easily, yeah. Right, still ringing. Still ringing. Alas, no, she's not active. So, I haven't watched this. So are you. Oh. Ooh.
Right, quiet, you know how audio these things can be.
Right, here we go. So, listen very carefully, for it's coming through my normal speaker, and we know exactly how reliable that is.
It's playing.
So, right. Listen very carefully. That was the silent noise.
Quiet.
It's not even coming through my computer speakers. Have you got the volume on? I do have the volume on. Oh, he can't take it off.
It's probably said projector. I don't circle the projector.
Oh, it is. It's probably said.
Oh, I haven't heard the thing.
I will hold him up like the Lion King or something. I used to be tech officer, don't you know?
What?
My absence tonight for what I'm sure is a fantastic AGM. I'm from down Dublin trying to sort out the Methodist breakfast. I'm not doing a very good job of it.
It was working.
Perhaps you can give a transcript of it. I'm sure most of you know me and know about the Quaker about road and there'll be a really good time in advance. And the social aspect of society, which is really so important, and that's got really why we're all part of the university society and the university itself. Just to say, again, I would really appreciate your full support, and I will put myself heart and soul into the position. Well done to all the candidates tonight, and whoever gets elected at the end of the evening, my support and best wishes as always. I'll see you all soon on Thursday. Hello, excuse me.
I got some of it, but did you guys at all? Play it again and spin.
Security's gonna kick us out like
That's the best. It's the best. Quiet! That's the best audio we have. It concludes there. All right.
Could you forward it on to me?
Right, try it.
This might be an issue because Facebook always gets wanky about whether or not it'll play it out of the speakers or out of
You
that.
log in on like Dave's laptop and play it out of those
Dave, any like speakers on a laptop won't be as loud as that because I've tried it.
Well, we won't have time. We've got to be out in 10 minutes.
So little minutes. We have to put this room into a very different configuration. I say we and me.
Right, it's working now. So there we go.
Hello, excuse my absence tonight for what I'm sure is a fantastic AGM. I'm very down Dublin trying to sort out the Methodist breakfast. I'm not doing a very good job of it. Just to say, I would really appreciate your vote tonight to become the events officer for society. Sure most of you know me and know about the Quaker about road really good time in advance. And the social aspect of society is really so important. And that's got really why we're all part of the university society and the university itself. Just to say, again, I would really appreciate your full support and I will put myself heart and soul into this position. Well done to all the candidates tonight. And whoever gets elected at the end of the evening, support and best wishes as always. And see you all soon on Thursday.
All right.
There was obviously a surprise that the one that I was up reading was Conor McCardle. What position was he running for again? Yeah, that one. Yeah, congratulations to all the candidates tonight. I think, is there anything less more for you to say?
No,
I'm just going to clear everything up now.
Alright, so I was going to say it's free entry in Cuckoo for 11 o'clock and it's a cheap night on Tuesday, so you're all welcome to join me going there. Just to celebrate post AGM and to congratulate all of our candidates tonight who were successful, but also if we could please get a round of applause for any candidates who were not successful again. Because you don't have to be on the council to be an absolute testament to what society stands for. And I would say that given you are here at 10:15 tonight, that everyone who's in this room right now is a testament to what the society does stand for. If we can end the night with a round of applause for Mr. Ben Murphy, please. Taking a break from the adult world to help us out once again. And we're all very grateful for it. So, as always, if you're not going to help us clean up, get out. And please do come on to this week's debate, which is the document. So I can't tell you what it is, which is good because I wouldn't remember anything. Thank you all very much. I declare this annual general meeting
So, I started editing this at round, I reckon, 2:30. It's now 7:30 in the evening. Yeah, editing this took a while. Shaved a good hour and 20 minutes off of it, though. And it's just hit me that this is the last recording I'll ever do. With Literific, at least. Who knows? I just wanted to say... just wanted to reiterate my speech. Really enjoyed this year. You guys are all really sound, and you've been really sound to me. And I hope the 171st is even better than it was this year. Good luck, guys.